Here to talk more about Cain's plan is economist Art Laffer, a former advisor to President Ronald Reagan. He joins us from New York. Art, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Brett. It's a pleasure.
Are you a supporter of 999?
I think 999 is a wonderful plan. I think a lot of the candidates have very good plans for tax reform, but I love the 999 plan. I think it's a great first step.
Were you consulted in the making of 999?
You know, I've met with almost all the candidates, and I did come meet with Herman Cain. He's been down in Nashville twice, and I've spent a lot of time with him, and I did talk about his tax plans, yes.
Why is it a good plan?
Well, first place, what you really want to do on taxes is you want to lower the tax rate and broaden the tax base. So you provide people with the least incentives to evade, avoid, or otherwise not report taxable income, and you give them the least places to which they can escape. What you really want is a very efficient tax code that people don't try to cheat on or get out on, and his plan does exactly that. It broadens the base dramatically, and it lowers the rate. And it's especially important getting rid of the corporate rate, which is really a silly tax today.
So our critics of this say this is very regressive and would hit the poor. What do you say to that?
I don't think that's true. I mean, Herman Cain's plan, number one, gets rid of the payroll tax, which is also very regressive. It gets rid of a lot of other taxes in the system as well. And what it does have is it has at the end a demo grant for those below the poverty level. It replaces some of them so they really get their taxes back, if you will, Brett. So I don't think it's regressive at all.
And what about the critics on the right who say once you open this spigot to Washington, that eventually you could have a 20-20-20 plan because there's no, lawmakers would want to tax more down the road?
Well, you know, you've always got that problem with politicians. If they're going to want to tax more in 10 years, they can pass legislation that will do it in 10 years. You just can't control future Congresses or future presidents. And this plan is a very efficient way to collect the requisite revenues we need to run government. So I think it's a very good and efficient plan. But if I could do anything to stop future politicians from ever raising taxes, I would love to figure it out. But I don't know how to do that.
Ultimately, Mr. Cain says in the second phase, he would essentially phase out income taxes for individuals and corporations in favor of a national sales tax. And that could get fairly high. For the critics who say, people on fixed incomes and people who are worried about the price of things going up, how do you respond to them? Well,
I don't know about the long-term phase. I was just looking at 999 myself. But you've got to believe that taxes are in all the prices, Brett. They always are. It's just how they get in that price. But if you tax a corporation, the corporation's going to charge a higher price for the product that you buy. If you tax the income tax, it means the labor that you go into making the product is higher. So as long as you're collecting the same amount of total revenue in a fairly efficient way, none of these systems will lead to higher or lower prices than the others. It just won't make any difference to the overall price level.
So bottom line, Art, you're a supporter.
I think this is a lot better than our current tax codes. Our current tax codes, Brett, as you know, are just a behemoth filled with all sorts of awful ducks, chickens, pigs, and turkeys in there, and they've just got to be cleaned out, and we've got to completely revamp the codes. I really would love to see that done.
Art Laffer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Brett. It's a real pleasure.